following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. It's game time. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
As we come on air, I'm looking to the room beside us, and we are being taunted.
Awful.
We got some folks in a sister station, and they're promoting Wing Wars.
Yes, Saturday night,
5 to 10, in Manhattan Brewing Company there in the alley. And so we've had a number of businesses out here to promote it, and they're eating wings and drinking beers. I'm not gonna lie, I wish that was my life. At this moment in time.
Exact moment, absolutely.
I could do that and host the show. I'd probably be more fun, more loose, funnier.
That just gives you that angle to keep on working for, if Omaha is in our future.
I hope it is.
I know that.
I sent the proposal to the sales staff today. I was like, guys, this Omaha thing is a possibility. Let's get a bar and a place to broadcast, and because I'm just kind of picturing in my mind, I'm like, how can I make this the best for Troy and myself? What is the best setup in Omaha, Nebraska to have a good time?
The flaw would be we would not have NBC along in terms of the
That is correct.
beers.
That is correct, and I do love some NBC for sure. Manhattan Brewing Company and Manhattan Broadcasting Company.
There you go.
Welcome to the game. Mitch Fortner, Trey Coverdale, and AJ Shaw. It's going to be a lot of K-State baseball talk today. Coming up at 5:10, Jerry Ratcliffe from JerryRatcliffe.com. He covers not only Virginia sports, but the ACC. He'll be coming on at 5:10 to preview the Cavaliers and what K-State will be facing the next couple of days at least. Friday, Saturday, and if necessary, for Game 3 on Sunday, a best-of-3 series. Best case scenario for the Batcats also coming up in hour number 2. We'll take a look at Ruhl's comeback and how that's key for Pete Hughes heading into this super regional in Charlottesville here in just a few moments. Real quick, I saw this on Twitter yesterday and I forgot to bring it up. Over the last 5 years, one of my favorite bits that I've had nothing to do with, one of my favorite bits is when when K-State's traveling, K-State fans are traveling for a bowl game or the NCAA tournament, or in this case, a super regional, bar owners who may need to go on bar rescue are starting to tweet and say things like, I was 6 days away from closing my doors. And then thousands of K-State fans showed up for this particular event and literally saved me from losing my home.
How did this entire thread of these things even start?
So if you've been listening to the show for a long time, you may remember it was the 2019 Liberty Bowl.
Okay.
When K-State traveled to Memphis, it was against Navy. Cats did lose, but it was New Year's Eve. And it took I can't remember exactly why or how it started. I mean, how is just going on social media pretending to be these bar owners in these towns. I think it had to do with Iowa State getting to Orlando to play Notre Dame in whatever the bowl was at that time. Because we thought K-State could be in that bowl game, play Notre Dame. They probably should have gone over Iowa State, but Jamie Pollard, I guess, made a better sales pitch to that bowl game, and Iowa State ended up going and getting throttled by Notre Dame. So K-State fans started changing their accounts of these bar owners in Memphis, saying, I've never seen so many people come to Memphis for this bowl game. Has to be at least 50,000 K-State fans here. But the funny part about that was that local news channels started to pick up on that.
Oh, really?
But they thought it was real.
Oh, boy.
And started running it as a story. They were retweeting these tweets.
Oh, boy.
And they fell for it. That's how it took off. And it continues to this day. I've only seen the one from Davis McNerd, who says, wow, I have owned my Tiki Torch Bar and Grill for 11 years. It's Charlottesville, Virginia, if you remember what happened there. Tiki Torch would make sense.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen this many people travel to Charlottesville since 2017. Kansas State fans are everywhere. I was weeks away from closing down shop. There must be 30K here. Thank you so much, Wildcat fans. For those that don't know, their ballpark there in Charlottesville holds about 6,000. Still funny.
Oh, man.
It's still funny, and it's still one of my favorite bits, and I'm glad there's at least one person still out there still doing this. Got a feeling this person he may have done it once or twice.
Yeah, just possibly. He may be running out of names, though. The McNerd kind of gives it away.
You never heard the McNerd last name?
No.
You don't remember Travis McNerd? David McNerd? Used to play baseball at KU?
Oh, boy.
That was lame, I know.
I know. Yeah.
Just let it sit there for a second.
Was a good attempt.
Let's talk Batcats. We found out earlier today, actually we knew a couple of days ago, Owen Borma would start on Friday, which is tomorrow. I mean, geez Louise, we are 26 hours away, less than that, 26 hours away from the Super Regional getting underway. Virginia has not announced its full rotation yet, or at least through Friday, Saturday. We know Saturday as well it's going to be Jackson Wentworth for the Cats. But we do know, and this was pretty predictable about who would be the starter for Friday night for Virginia. And this is a pitching staff. If you compare it to K-State, as a whole, K-State is actually just slightly better. Slightly, though, is a key word. So you're not talking about the best in the nation by far. When it comes to your conference, middle of the pack at best, but does have some pretty key pieces. A lot of similarities more than differences when it comes to K-State, Virginia, and their pitching. So Owen Borma will start for the Cats tomorrow. It'll be Evan Blanco, a 6-foot sophomore for the Cavaliers. It's going to be lefty ace versus lefty ace. Of course, things are a little bit different than a regional where K-State saw, Borma goes Friday. Hagen Smith for Arkansas, they save him for Saturday. It's Jackson Wentworth going on Saturday. It's a normal rotation for K-State. But it's probably a little bit different. As a matter of fact, it is different for Virginia because they did not start Evan Blanco against Penn in the first game of their regional that they hosted. They waited to game 2, and they started their ace against Mississippi State. This is a high school kid that was one of the top recruits out of the state of Massachusetts a couple of years ago. Again, a sophomore, a young kid who became the Friday starter this season. He is their only consistent starter throughout the year on the weekend. They've really mixed and matched over the season. He has been their one true starter on a Friday night. He came out of high school the 40th best left-handed pitcher according to Perfect Game. Last year, he was a bullpen guy, 24 appearances, which was tied for the second most on the team. 1-0 at 3.04 ERA, 26 strikeouts in over 23 innings. Pretty good stuff out of a freshman. This season, this will be a 17th start on Friday. A 7-3 record, a 3.57 ERA, over 85 innings, 34 earned runs, 10 home runs, 86 strikeouts, 24 walks. Just misses individually, just misses the top 100 for strikeout to walk ratio amongst the best pitchers in the country. Now, Owen will have, I say, better opportunity. He has the better track record, let's put it that way, of eating up innings. Only twice this season has Blanco gotten more than 6 innings. It was just a couple of weeks ago, Owen Borma had a complete game in postseason play. That was a game winner for K-State against West Virginia, if I remember correctly, and a morning game, a 9 a.m. contest, and he goes the distance. But Blanco is throwing his best baseball as of recent. Against Mississippi State, 6 innings, 3 earned runs, 8 hits, 7 strikeouts, no walks. He has played his best baseball. He's pitched his best baseball over the last 5 games. 29 innings, 4 earned runs in the last 5 games. That's an ERA of 1.24. 27 hits, 25 strikeouts, and 10 walks. But you know what? For Owen Borma, Louisiana Tech was kind of its own animal, its own situation. It was not the ideal situation. Owen's scheduled to start. He warms up, and 12 minutes before first pitch, lightning strike. Baseball is a game of routine.
Yep. Yeah.
That can easily throw off a starter. He still wasn't bad. It just wasn't normal Owen Borma, where he goes a little over 4 innings. It allows 4 earned runs. You knew he just wasn't himself because of the 6 walks. That's not Owen Borma. That, to me, if you just look at his line against Louisiana Tech, don't even consider it. Look at his previous 6 games prior to that matchup. That's where Owen is currently at. And he's throwing his best baseball of the season in those 6 previous games prior to Louisiana Tech. Over 39 innings, 18 earned runs, ERA right at just about 4, which you like it'd be a little bit better. But 36 hits, 40 Ks, just 13 walks.
And let's bear in mind that not only were you dealing with the lightning situation before that Louisiana Tech game, when you consider that K-State also racked out a lot of offense very early in that game, strike zone was a little bit tighter maybe than what you would have expected.
There are so many, and there are so many keys to this super regional. But if you know anything about Virginia baseball, you'll know that their offense is incredibly good. That's why I brought up the term eating innings. Mm-hmm. That's where Owen's a little bit better. Well, when it comes to an offense, K-State hasn't seen an offense like this. I mean, I'll ask you, Troy, the question, to you, what is scarier? For one game, facing, maybe if you can, take it back to when you're entering the regional in Fayetteville, where you're thinking, okay, if we're going to win this regional, we're probably facing Arkansas twice. If you consider Arkansas at their best postseason play, you're going to probably face them twice. They didn't, and I think that's pretty lucky for K-State. But you're going to face Hagen Smith. You're going to probably have to face Arkansas twice. That or knowing that almost 1 through 9, that entire lineup for Virginia hits over 310.
With aluminum bats.
Yeah. Virginia sound a little bit scarier?
They do in that aspect, plus the fact that you've got to try to take 2 from them on their home field.
But Arkansas was also the home team. Tough environment.
True.
Double the attendance.
But you had the other 2 teams that were also a part of that field, so your attention was on getting past game 1 first. In this case, it is strictly all about K-State and all about Virginia.
K-State's offense, for the most of the season, has been better, despite not being as strong in the second half of the year, has been better than the pitching. The difference now is that K-State's pitching most of the season has been without one of its best 3 or 4 pitchers for most of this season. There was a couple of weeks there where they did have Neighbors and Ruhl available at the same time. Very, very little of this season. Now you're full strength. So, there's no more excuses, really. The excuses are over, especially you won the regional. You went 3-0. Right. You are full strength. What happened in the regular season? If there are excuses, sure. Not anymore.
Right.
That is behind you. Nobody cares about that anymore. Okay, you didn't win the Big 12. You don't finish in the top 5. You still got to the postseason. Coach Hughes built the schedule he needed to, and that's going to stay the way it is for the foreseeable future as long as RPI is so strong in selecting tournament teams. That is not changing. They played one of the toughest schedules in the entire nation. But there's no more excuses at this point. You have everybody available. You have your best shot in going to a super regional and beating Virginia. What is, though, the best case scenario? If you could script this out, what would be the best case scenario? We'll talk about that coming up in hour number 2 because I think there's like a best. I don't think it's absolutely going to happen, absolutely not going to happen. But we'll talk about that and then a more realistic best case scenario. Jerry Ratcliffe from jerryratcliffe.com covers Virginia sports and the ACC. Will join us at 5:10 to help us preview the Cavaliers. When we come back, let's focus again, K-State pitching, who they got back that now makes them full strength is Ruhl. He and Coach Hughes about his journey back. Spoke to the media a couple of days ago. We'll hear those clips coming up next. Troy, I see some beers were left over across the way. Back on the game, Mitch Fortner, Troy Coverdale, and A.J. Shaw.
We're not allowing him into that studio, though.
I don't think A.J.'s a... You talking about A.J.?
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like the...
We've got to beat him to those.
The drinker type.
Yeah, I'm not an alcohol guy. I'm
Really?
really not. Yeah, which is funny because I come from a family that loves to drink, but yeah.
I was going to place it, you come from Chicago. I mean, come on.
What's the beer in what's the Chicago?
Old Style.
Old Style, that's right.
Yep. The Harry Carey beer.
I've never had one of those.
You know, Harry Carey's beer was actually Budweiser.
Yeah, and then it became Old Style.
You know why it became Old Style?
Because he was mad at the Cardinals and the Bush family.
There was a lot more to him just being mad at the Cardinals and the Bush family.
All right.
It was more the Bush family, or certain members of the Bush family were mad at him.
Yeah.
And there are rumors that have been abound over the years.
Yes, many rumors.
I'm not familiar with this.
Yeah,
story.
let's just say that Harry was known for liking the ladies.
Well, speaking of baseball,
Shout out to Harry.
Yeah, but that may have gotten him in trouble.
Oh.
Well, speaking of baseball, I got an interesting story coming up at 4:50.
John Shambi did a podcast recently, and he talked a lot about Harry Carey.
Mm-hmm.
Cubs announcer John Shambi. Shout out to him. On TV.
Does he work for the Cubs?
TV
Yeah,
now. Yeah,
TV.
he's their TV
Oh,
guy.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boog.
Yeah.
But he'll travel for Sunday Night Baseball?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And in fact, they've been splitting some of that with my friend Roxy Bernstein,
Shout
doing
out to
some
him.
of those this year, so that he's not out on every Sunday. You know, the talking about Harry Carey stories, one that I got told that was secondhand through another announcer is just great because they got it from his son. They got it from
Skip, right?
From Skip. Mm-hmm. And that was back in the days that Harry was working for the blowtorch of the Midwest. He was covering St. Louis University basketball. They had him at the top of the arena, wearing those bottle cap glasses, trying to call a basketball game.
Oh, my God.
Skip is like, he couldn't see anything.
AJ, if you could transition us into this Ruhl segment.
Yeah. Pete Hughes and having Ruhl coming back is kind of a big thing for Pete Hughes.
You know what? It is kind of a big deal for Pete Hughes in this this K-State baseball team. As I said in the I'm probably going to be starting to get a little bit repetitive if you listen to the show every day because I've been pretty clear what this means to me as a fan, the coaching staff, this team, about having not only Chuck Ingram hitting, which was awesome to watch this past weekend. Hopefully that stays consistent. That's a major game changer. But when you're missing one of your best pitchers for almost the whole season, at one point Tyson Neighbors, at one point Ruhl. I mean, Ruhl missed nearly 2 months of baseball. And this was going to be a really big season for Ruhl. He was going to start on Saturdays. He was going to be the Saturday guy for the season. K-State was feeling pretty comfortable about its rotation, and then an arm injury keeps Ty out for darn near 2 months. But He got to make his comeback officially after having a pretty rough outing against BYU. Maybe just wasn't ready yet to come back against SEMO in the championship game of the regional through 4 no-hit innings and then was pulled after giving up a couple of hits in the 5th. It still worked out for the Cats, and Ruhl said that was a dream come true to pitch in that game.
It's what I've always dreamed to do. The last 2 seasons were hard watching from home in a regional and other teams in regional, and it was just something I've always wanted, and I think I made the most of the moment of the chance that I got, and I'm just happy my coaches gave me the ball.
Pete Hughes said a couple of days ago he loved watching Ruhl pitch in that Sunday game.
I was excited for our program to win a regional the other night. It was even more excited to watch what Ty did, and knowing his journey and having the success he had in that big moment. It was the easiest decision I made all weekend to say that Ty Ruhl was going to pitch on Sunday.
And that journey for Ty to come back and just be able to pitch those 4 clean innings against SEMO was a bit of a bumpy journey.
I'm just glad my trainer, my coaches were all around me pushing me, because I easily could have just went in a cave and ran away. But my coaches and trainer ultimately put it in my mind, like, you're going to pitch again this year. And that helped me mentally overcome a block that I was going through of trusting my ability, pushing my body 100% every day to get better. I'm just happy it came out. I'm able to pitch again. And just be out there for my teammates and play with them instead of. I love cheering on, but I love playing even more.
Here's one more time from Pete Hughes.
He had an opportunity to play professional baseball last year. It came back to be a starter for us, and when you come back and you miss the entire year and you want to be the foundation of our pitching staff, which he has been for the last 2 years, and then you can't have the ball in your hand, that wears you down mentally, and he's stuck with it.
I have one big thought about all this. It sounds like Ty went through a lot. And I think it's definitely connected. Really, this is just speculation. Ty did not go into detail about this at all, neither did Pete Hughes, but it was referenced by Pete Hughes that if Ty wanted to, he could have gone and played professional baseball after last season. Could have been drafted. Could be somewhere right now, working on his game, trying to rise up in the farm system. But decided to come back, and that's been a big theme for this team this year. Guys coming back. Brady Day was drafted in the 12th round of the MLB draft. He comes back. Guys like Kalen Culpepper and Tyson Neighbors. You just know. People were texting them, calling them. Maybe there was some tampering. I don't know. Again, speculation.
Well, you've got that. Plus, let's face it, there was one pitcher that did elect to leave that surprised everybody. Trying to remember the young man who, the freshman, didn't get drafted, signed free agent deal anyway.
I'm blanking now.
Yeah.
But
I know.
But anyway, now where was I? But with like Kalen Culpepper, who's going to be potentially a first-round draft pick, Tyson Neighbors, probably in the first 3 rounds. Don't forget about Jackson Wentworth. What an absolute climb this year for Jackson Wentworth. But like with Neighbors and Culpepper, they could have gone somewhere else and gotten some cash. They could have filled their pockets with NIL. They decided to come back. So much from last year that grew with the coaching, with the continued season of just getting better, improving, that got K-State into a spot they should have been picked for the NCAA tournament. They were not. Stuck around. But Ty Ruhl, I'm sure in his mind, when you're dealing with an arm injury, your throwing arm, you're a pitcher, you're missing, you don't know how much you're going to be missing.
Right.
How does that potentially affect pro ball? How does that affect his draft stock?
Oh, yeah.
How does that affect how much money he's going to make? That would be my guess of the emotions. What's that?
Herman.
Oh, Herman Fajardo. Oh, I forgot about him.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he was all right. He wasn't too bad.
He had his share of starts that were big down the stretch last year.
You know me, my mind is
Oh, I know. I understand.
It just gets fuzzy after a while. But
and,
yes,
and that's without the beers that are in the next room.
yeah, that's true. AJ?
I was just going to mention, so a lot of mock drafts having Kalen Culpepper kind of in the late first round. This will make Matt Walters happy if he's out there listening. And one of them, Kalen Culpepper, projected to go to the Braves at 24. So, yeah.
So not the Cubs.
So not the Cubs.
Good.
Not the Cubs.
Anywhere but the Cubs.
But
Anywhere but the Cubs? Come on.
And the White Sox.
But in Ruhl's case,
And the Yankees.
you've got opportunities that scouts did not see him, essentially, through the course of the year.
That's a good point. That too.
That was opportunity that he could have been, that he would have had to show where improvement was, where he stood after, another year's worth of experience, all of that. That makes things a little bit nebulous.
Well, and he only got to pitch because he was going to be a starter, right? He was going to really show off that talent, his longevity on the mound.
Yes.
I mean, he comes out that first game against Boston College and was really good.
Right.
2 runs in 6 innings, struck out 6, did not give up an extra base hit. The next day against Holy Cross, or I shouldn't say the next day, but like 6 days later, 4 earned runs in 1 inning, and we knew something was wrong. He then misses nearly 2 months, and then he comes back, but he came back in that UConn game, but it wasn't a starting capacity. It was bullpen. I shouldn't say bullpen. It was starting capacity, but it wasn't starting innings. It wasn't 4 or 5 innings, 6 innings. It was 1 inning, 2 innings. He hasn't been quite himself until we saw him pitch in that SEMO game. What I'm telling you is, with Ty Ruhl back, and this is the factor here, with Ty Ruhl available, that's one of your best pitchers heading into the season. It looks like he's back to his normal form. He's getting back in shape, his routine, his stride. That is going to definitely help this coaching staff plan out a series. Come with a stronger game plan, where hopefully you don't have to play one of these Friday-Saturday games with 3 or 4 pitchers. Ty Ruhl is an insurance policy potentially for Game 1. I'll lay out that game plan that I think would be so ideal for K-State if it did work out when it comes to the pitching staff. But let's keep in mind, they are about to face the toughest offense in America. We'll take a break when we come back. But I'm just very happy for Ty Ruhl. Very happy that he gets this opportunity. Because this is just, it is that opportunity, once again, that he really hasn't had since the beginning of the season. Since the first week of the season, to go out there, potentially start, or at least go in for a big situation for more than a couple of innings, potentially, and throw it in front of a bunch of scouts and go help win a game. All right, when we come back, we'll take a break from K-State baseball. Coming up at 5:10, Jerry Radcliffe will join us to talk Virginia baseball. Let's talk Kansas City Chiefs. They have re-signed. First of all, they had a very scary moment at practice today, but they've also signed a wide receiver, and I think that could mean bad news for Kadarius Toney. It's coming up next.
McKinnon is in at running back. First down and goal to go. Play action fake. Right side throw. Touchdown! Kansas City! McCole Hardman with the catch on the right side. A 3-yard touchdown pass in overtime. Kansas City wins the game. 25-22. And the Chiefs Kingdom has started its own history class. Because for the first time in 6,944 days, there is a back-to-back Super Bowl champion, and it is the Kansas City Chiefs.
And McCole Hardman didn't know he won the Super Bowl on that catch.
Right.
Back on the game, Mitch Fortner, Troy Coverdale, A.J. Shaw. Well, McCole Hardman is, first of all, we should actually talk about a pretty scary situation earlier today at a Chiefs practice as a defensive lineman ended up having a seizure and going into cardiac arrest. That was defensive end B.J. Thompson, who had a couple of tackles last year. Taken into the hospital by ambulance from the team's practice facility. That was earlier this morning. And when that happened, the Chiefs just sent the players home from the facility instead of just holding practice. It was OTA, so no practice today. They'll reschedule for Friday. For B.J. Thompson, he's just his second year out of Stephen F. Austin. He was picked up a couple of years ago. I mean, this is the kind of thing, that could end his career, potentially. But he's in stable condition. He's okay, but this could potentially be a long recovery for B.J. Thompson. Meanwhile, it's not like official. The Chiefs haven't announced anything yet for as far as I know. But the report's coming out that Mecole Hardman has been re-signed to a 1-year contract with the Kansas City Chiefs. That catch you heard from Mecole Hardman, the Super Bowl winning catch in overtime, I think that was really his only play of the year.
Effectively because, he not only started the season not on the roster, he was with the Jets, and not seeing playing time with the Jets of all teams.
Yeah, because he actually signed a nice little deal with the Jets, but he didn't hardly play.
Right, and
when he was playing, he wasn't doing anything.
Right, and the Chiefs decided that they needed the help.
I mean, they needed somebody. If he was out there on the market, I mean, this was a kind of a cheap pickup, as far as I remember. The Chiefs could pick him up, and Mahomes is familiar with them. He knows the playbook. He could just jump right in and
all good things.
Help immediately, and then pretty limited in the Chiefs, and then all of a sudden, he wins the game, wins the Super Bowl for Kansas City, and they go back-to-back. But I have a couple of questions. I do. A couple of thoughts, and you guys can give your 2 cents what you think about this. Is this more of a wide receiver signing or a special team signing? Because he's actually kind of decent in special teams. And that has been an area where the Chiefs have had their issues.
It may very well be the fact that you have the changed kickoff rules. One of the things that's been discussed just in general is that teams are bringing back some of the kickoff coverage practices and those types of things that kind of went by the wayside because everybody just grew to the point where you expected everything to be a touchback.
AJ, do you want to add something?
Well, yeah, you make a great point. I mean, he made it the Pro Bowl as a special teamer back in 2019. And I know the Pro Bowl doesn't mean much anymore, but I think that has a lot to do with the special teams thing. By the way, Mecole Hardman, 1 catch for 6 yards as a member of the Jets in 5 games.
Gosh, that's
yeah.
I'm curious how many targets he had. Was he just not getting open? Was there no targets, or was drop passes, or had to be pretty limited? At
least 3 of the games, or at least 2 games right off the top, he was not even on the roster. He was inactive.
My other question, maybe it's more of a thought than a question, but it'd be a question to you if you guys agree or not. Go ahead, AJ.
Yeah, 3 targets with the Jets. Had 21 with the Chiefs, caught 14 passes for 118 yards.
3 targets.
Man, talk about a payday for hardly doing anything.
Right.
So, interesting spot this puts Kansas City, because you would imagine they'll drop one of them, but now Kansas City has 7 wide receivers that you would imagine would actually make the active roster potentially. You have Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Justin Watson, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, and Mecole Hardman. If I remember correctly, this is the final year of a rookie contract for Kadarius Toney.
Correct.
So could the Chiefs just get rid of him and move on with what they have? Because you picked up Hollywood Brown, you drafted Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice had a great rookie season. Justin Watson, you would imagine, is just going to stay back for another year.
Stamp that asterisk next to Rashee Rice.
Why?
Because I think that the Dallas racing issue is going to be one that may keep him off the field for a bit.
Well, that too.
What are we thinking, 4 or 6?
That too. Well, I forgot about that.
I'm thinking 8 at least.
Oh, 8, yeah.
See, but that's the question. How? But they also drafted Xavier Worthy. And
True.
It's probably a good reason for that is because of this Rashee Rice situation.
And he may be wide receiver 1 right out the gate. Who knows? Probably not. Hollywood Brown might be.
And Sky Moore still has 2 years left on his rookie deal. And he hasn't shown a whole lot, that would tell you the future with Sky Moore is blossoming. Definitely a guy you're probably not going to want to re-sign. But could this mean Kadarius Toney his days are limited in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was inactive for pretty much the end of to the end of the season. And you have to think with some of the moves, because Hollywood Brown's a good player. He hasn't played up to the level of a first-round talent, but he's been a good player in the league. Xavier Worthy projects to be very good. Once Rashee Rice comes back, you have to think he's going to be a factor. And even though he's not a receiver, you still have Travis Kelce, who's going to get the majority of the targets from Mahomes.
I agree with everything you said. I think I would get rid of Kadarius Toney. What a letdown he was this past year. I mean, when's the last time a Chief like this had been so hyped up to be the guy and just fell completely flat?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't think of a recent name, especially at a skill position. Like, Clyde Edwards-Helaire has got a lot of heat last couple of years. I thought he was better this last year, but 2 years ago, just getting overshadowed as a first-round draft pick. But that's like, Mitch Holtis told us, like, that's probably a guy actually Kansas City would be pretty interested in keeping around. He's not going to get a big payday, probably, but a guy you could keep around. All right, we're running a little bit short here. I should have been keeping up with the time. Let's take our last break of the first hour. Still to come at 5:10. Jerry Ratcliffe previews Virginia baseball. When we come back, though, AJ wants to share with us a piece of history that happened 50 years ago. Coming up next. All right, AJ, share with us the baseball history that took place 50 years ago today.
50 years ago Tuesday.
Okay.
So some folks may know about this. 50-cent beer night was June the 4th of 1974.
10 cent.
10 cent. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
10-cent beer night. My apologies. So a little bit of a lead up to this story. The week before, the Rangers and the Indians played down in Texas. There was a fight that night because Lenny Randle got thrown behind. And then the next pitch, Milt Wilcox, the pitcher, threw at him. He threw at him. And then he bunted on the next pitch. And instead of running to first base, he just shoved the pitcher. So there was a fight. The fans got involved. After the game, because they were playing Cleveland the next week, Texas reporters asked Billy Martin, who was the Rangers manager, are you bringing your boxing gloves, your armor, to Cleveland? He said, they don't have enough fans there because nobody went to the games back then. Well, they did 10-cent beer night the next week, and the rule was you could get in for 50 cents into the bleachers, and then 50 cents you get 6 beers, so you could bring in $1. Well, turned out that was a disaster because it got out of control, and they had 2 girls who were running the beer. They were giving away beer. Basically, they flipped over the table. The girls left. The fans took it over, turned on the tap, drinking all the beer. So everybody got inebriated. Several incidents throughout the game. You had women running on the field trying to kiss the umpire. You had women on the field trying to flash. You had naked men sprinting on the field. Craziness. Hot dogs being thrown on the field. Firecrackers being thrown in the bullpen of the Rangers. So in the 9th inning, a guy runs on the field, tries to steal the hat of Jeff Burrows, who was the Rangers' right fielder. Ends up tripping and dropping the hat. Jeff Burrows kicks him, then falls down. Rangers think he's hurt, so they run on the field with baseball bats, and a riot breaks out.
About the only time ever that Billy Martin was in the right.
Yep.
I'm just saying.
I don't know. Sounds like a good time to me. I don't know what you guys are,
Yeah, needless to say, never to be repeated again.
Trying to blame the alcohol. I can't believe it.
Yeah, what?
Let's take a break. We're ending hour 1. Hour number 2 coming up next. Jerry Ratcliffe helps us preview Virginia baseball.